The 2026 World Cup kicked off 2 days ago at the Azteca in Mexico City. The beautiful game is underway. Goals are flying in. 8 years of build-up. More pre-tournament drama than anyone can remember. But this massive soccer event is finally, actually happening. But instead of focusing purely on the action, the conversation keeps drifting back to everything surrounding the pitch. The fans who couldn't make it. The thousands of empty seats staring back at us. The match official denied entry at the airport. The brutal heat punishing players in ways no one has quite figured out yet. The massive corporate machines swallowing the sport whole, leaving die-hard fans struggling to even recognize the beautiful game buried underneath it all. Today is June 13th. We are 2 days into the largest FIFA tournament in history, and the narrative surrounding this massive event remains two totally different stories playing out at once. The actual football on the pitch, which has already given us unforgettable moments, and everything happening off the grass, which is making history for entirely different reasons. Let's break it all down. Every scandal, every real controversy, every ugly truth running parallel to the international matches. Because the supporters who bleed for this game deserve the raw, honest truth about what this event reveals about modern soccer and the executives pulling the strings. We start with the one glaring issue that has completely defined the opening days of this global competition. The exact problem that a leading sports professor who also happens to be a former pro footballer captured perfectly with just 2 words. A phrase quoted more heavily than anything else said about this event so far: World Cup of Exclusion. That exact label, a World Cup of Exclusion, perfectly captures the utter chaos of the visa crisis hitting right now in June 2026. And the specific nightmares we are seeing aren't just empty numbers. They are real human stories. Real people showing us exactly what broke down and just how badly. Omar Abdulkadir Artan, a highly respected referee from Somalia, crowned as the CAF Best Male Official of 2025, handpicked by FIFA to call games at this tournament. He was about to make history as the first Somali referee ever on this massive stage. A massive historic moment for African soccer on the world stage. He touched down at Miami International Airport. Border control turned him away. A US official claimed he was blocked over alleged ties to suspected members of terror groups. No extra proof was given. FIFA quietly confirmed he wouldn't be training or whistling any matches. The guy is already back in Istanbul. An official referee with FIFA credentials, chosen directly through their own system, totally shut out by the border control of the primary host nation. FIFA's answer to this mess and the massive visa disaster happening overall finally came from their president down in Mexico City. He basically said, "It is unfortunate what happened to the referee from Somalia, but we don't control everything." Then he actually suggested that everyone should just chill and relax. Chill and relax. While a hand-picked match official gets blocked at the border of the exact tournament he was hired for. That specific answer sparked an absolute avalanche of backlash. Not because the core fact he stated is technically wrong. Obviously, FIFA doesn't run border patrol. But brushing it off like that felt incredibly out of touch to soccer fans watching this massive structural disaster unfold. Artan's ordeal is the most glaring single case, but he is hardly alone. At least one actual player has already been delayed or blocked outright. Entire support staffs from multiple different countries are seeing their visas denied. Top federation executives are hitting brick walls. Accredited journalists trying to cover the event are getting shut out too. Many are trapped by single-entry visas, making it nearly impossible to follow a month-long competition across 3 giant countries. Iran's soccer federation even reported that the US would only let their squad cross the border exactly 1 day before kickoff. Just 1 single day for a pro team to prep for a high-stakes World Cup match, 0 training camp on US soil. Jump the border, play 90 minutes, immediately head back and repeat for every match. At least 15 core staff members for the Iranian side were hit with random entry bans or massive red tape. The squad literally set up camp in Tijuana, Mexico and commuted into the States to play. Their official block of tickets was reportedly cancelled days before they faced New Zealand. Meanwhile, dozens of Moroccan fans, a squad that famously battled into the Qatar semi-finals, whose die-hard fans are some of the most electric on the planet, were completely denied travel visas, even with tickets in hand. They paid for seats, they held the paperwork, but the doors stayed locked. 4 participating nations, Iran, Haiti, Ivory Coast, and Senegal, were hit with extreme travel restrictions. It built a massive wall for their fans that European and South American crowds completely avoided. The 15 nations caught on the immigrant visa ban list that actually qualified for this World Cup. It includes heavyweights like Brazil, Algeria, Morocco, Colombia, Egypt, Ghana, Uruguay, and Tunisia. Human Rights Watch spelled the situation out perfectly. The United States built a completely hostile environment for players, supporters, and journalists. A climate where ticket holders face phone checks, intense interrogations, and even lockups just for posting criticism of the current administration on social media. This is not some theoretical risk. It is a documented reality. One that has forced thousands of football fans to second-guess travelling to this massive tournament. The fan from Senegal who just stayed home, the reporter from a restricted nation who flat out could not get multi-entry access. The Football Federation official turned completely around at an airport. The beautiful game is supposed to unite the world, but the strict entry rules of the main host nation have completely locked out huge parts of the globe. Canada stepped up during the Arton situation with a move worth mentioning. They invited the banned Somali referee to officiate World Cup fixtures played right on Canadian soil. Sure, it was a pretty small gesture in practical terms, but it spoke volumes about the stark contrast in how the three host nations handled this whole access issue. Now, let us switch focus to what is happening inside the stadiums, because the empty seat problem morphed from early tournament worries into a highly visible, documented, and publicly embarrassing reality. South Korea beat Czech Republic 2-1 in Guadalajara. FIFA reported roughly 45,000 fans inside a 46,000 capacity venue, yet television broadcasts and photos from inside the ground exposed massive patches of empty seats all match long. Those images hit the internet instantly and spread absolutely everywhere. A World Cup fixture in a supposedly sold-out stadium that honestly looked totally hollow from the stands. Football fans online held nothing back. One comment called it completely embarrassing. Another replied that nobody believes the lies. They claimed FIFA was ruining football. The official explanation blamed no-shows fans holding tickets who just never turned up. It is the exact same excuse they recycled at past tournaments whenever official attendance stats wildly clashed with visual reality. It is not entirely unbelievable. Ghost tickets happen at literally every major sporting event, but the sheer scale and consistency of this huge visual gap between announced numbers and actual crowds created a massive credibility crisis. FIFA's standard PR lines just aren't cutting it anymore. Roughly 25,000 seats sat completely unsold on FIFA's primary ticketing platform during the opening days of the tournament. They panic-dropped several last-minute ticket batches just trying to plug those glaring empty gaps. That ruthless dynamic pricing model, the one sparking legal probes and endless fan complaints, got tweaked multiple times. 3 state attorneys general still have open investigations right now, but the core issue remains untouched. Pricing choices locked in months ago totally alienated the die-hard fans who actually wanted to fill those seats. Naturally, these late-stage tweaks and sudden drops are pure damage control, happening way after the window for proper trip planning slammed shut. A fan who could not secure affordable lodging back in October because hotels gouged prices will not suddenly show up in June just because a few match tickets got cheaper at the final hour. A dream trip requiring months of prep simply cannot be thrown together overnight. Those empty stadium rows serve as the glaring physical evidence of greedy calls made at the very top, punishing the everyday fans at the bottom who just wanted to experience the beautiful game live. Let us talk about the extreme heat. This is where the massive divide between what FIFA promised on paper and the brutal physical reality hitting players and fans on the pitch has turned incredibly visible and dangerously urgent. Sweltering temperatures across certain American host cities hit dangerous levels right from the opening whistle. This forced those mandatory hydration pauses FIFA rolled out, giving players 3 minutes per half to rest and grab water. During those exact breaks, the official broadcasters actually get the green light to run extra television commercials, turning a critical health protocol for severe heat into prime money, making ad space. The athletes even signed a public letter last May demanding FIFA take much stronger action regarding these heat protocols. The Players Union, FIFPro, warned everyone all along that 3 measly minutes is just nowhere near enough time to safely rehydrate in these brutal conditions. The medical science here leaves zero room for debate. Safely rehydrating in this extreme heat demands way more time and liquids than a 3-minute window provides. Just remember those constant weather delays that repeatedly plagued the Club World Cup. That event happened in these exact same stadiums last summer as a dry run. It proved the heat crisis was totally real and heavily documented before this World Cup ever kicked off. 6 massive weather-related delays hit during the first 50 Club World Cup fixtures. The warnings were there. The data was clear. and a 3-minute pause was the only real answer they gave. Queen's University Belfast warned everyone back in January 2025 they found heat and humidity in some host cities actually beat Qatar's winter conditions. The very same Qatar tournament that faced massive backlash over its deadly heat. The 2026 tournament, happening deep in the North American summer, brings extreme heat to cities like Dallas and Houston. Honestly, it pushes players harder than the Gulf ever did. They brought in massive industrial misting fans for SoFi Stadium out in Los Angeles. Cooling stations are running. The physical upgrades are real. But forcing afternoon kickoffs in cities baking under summer heat is a massive player safety risk. All the cooling gear in the world cannot fix that. Let us shift gears to the business side of things. The backlash over aggressive advertising has been loud, specific, and it demands a hard look. FIFA pushed a mandatory 3-minute water break for every single half, while immediately handing that exact time over to broadcasters to sell. That one single choice summed up exactly what fans and pundits were warning about during the entire tournament build-up. Money and football don't always clash at this World Cup, but trust me, they are always sharing the exact same pitch. And when they overlap like this, a player health pause doubling as a TV commercial, you see exactly who runs the show. The wider sponsorship circus surrounding this whole event has sparked heavy anger from every single angle. Fans watching at home simply cannot ignore the relentless flood of brands on their screens. Heavyweight sponsors dropped World Cup ad campaigns that triggered immediate disgust. Fans saw straight through the fake plastic passion in a competition that claims to honor the raw, authentic soul of football. More than half of FIFA's 20 official global partners hadn't even bothered dropping a campaign before the opening kickoff. The few brands that moved fast ended up setting the mood for the entire fan experience. And honestly, it just feels like corporate overload instead of an actual football festival. Selling out the sport is hardly a new complaint here. The frustration has been boiling over for years, stretching across dozens of leagues and federations. But the 2026 World Cup, with its $11 billion target and 100% ticket monopoly, its sponsored commercials baked right into player safety rules, has turned that anger into a very sharp knife. A working-class game built by the people is now hauling in cash that makes past decades look like loose change. Meanwhile, the die-hard fans are getting priced out of tickets, completely shut down at borders, staring at stadium seats that feel far emptier than the official stats claim, and watching player safety get monetized. That's the ugly commercial reality, and we need to call it out directly. Now look at the host nation drama. The massive gap between FIFA's grand promises and what the United States actually delivered has cracked the entire foundation of this tournament wide open. FIFA wrote human rights rules right into their hosting manual. The 2026 games were the very first time those demands were actually locked into the bid. Every single host city dropped a master plan bragging about how they'd champion access, inclusion, and basic rights. But look at the visa nightmare. Referees blocked at the gate. Die-hard fans turned back. Essential team staff shut out. Journalists heavily restricted. It completely shatters the illusion of those early promises. FIFA officially claims they don't run a country's border patrol and can't force visa approvals. Sure, legally they're right, but it looks completely terrible. The exact same organization that mandated human rights rules for its hosts then handed the keys to a nation whose strict border controls caused all this chaos, absolutely has to own the massive gap between the marketing and the reality. Canada welcoming Arton showed exactly how a different host country handles this kind of pressure. The sharp contrast between Canada and Mexico handling the human side of football versus the absolute mess of American border laws was painfully obvious to fans and critics alike during those crucial opening days. Even the matchday vibe at the opening ceremony and early games caught its own brutal wave of backlash. Fans inside the stadiums told stories of total chaos, massive lines for bathrooms, totally clueless security teams, and fan zones completely overwhelmed by the sheer crowd size. There's just a lingering feeling that ground-level logistics in some cities completely failed the hype of FIFA's massive marketing machine. It isn't everywhere though. A few host cities and stadiums actually gave football fans something to smile about. That opening fixture at the Azteca brought the exact kind of deafening noise and vibrant color a World Cup kickoff demands. Mexican football culture showed up deep, loud, and entirely authentic, just like the purists knew it would. But the overall vibe? Totally hit or miss. And inconsistent isn't acceptable for a tournament hyped up as the greatest event in football history. especially right at the start. So where exactly does this leave the 2026 World Cup as we hit day 3? The actual matches are being played. That matters. Honestly, it might be the only thing that truly counts right now. Guys who bled their whole careers for this exact moment are finally out on the grass. Japan are fighting through their group. Morocco too. England and France are gearing up. Argentina brings the final chapter of a golden generation to sport's biggest stage. All 48 national teams are out there battling in the massive tournament they earned, and the beautiful game will deliver magic. It always does. A screaming goal out of nowhere, a heroic run that rewrites a country's football legacy, a brutal knockout game pushed to extra time and penalty kicks, and that one lonely spot kick that decides it all. This sport never stops delivering pure drama. It certainly won't stop now. But look at the circus surrounding the pitch. The referee denied entry at the border. The loyal supporters shut out. Rows of empty plastic seats that should be packed. Cooling breaks perfectly timed for television commercials. Ongoing legal probes. Stadium workers pushed to the brink of striking. And insane bake-it prices freezing out the everyday working class fans who give football its very soul. That ugly narrative is unfolding right now. It will forever define how 2026 is remembered, not erasing the on-pitch glory, but chained to it forever. That professor who branded this a World Cup of exclusion was pointing at a very real truth. A massive tournament packing more squads than ever, more fixtures, record-breaking cash grabs, yet somehow more everyday fans blocked from the turnstiles than any other modern edition, going massive while shutting out the average fan. That is the true contradiction defining this entire event. The president of FIFA literally told everyone to chill out about a banned referee, about loyal fans blocked at the borders, and shady ticket sales sparking legal probes. But real supporters refuse to just relax. They breathe this sport. They know exactly what a World Cup should represent. And they see the massive, ugly gap between that pure ideal and what this giant corporate machine has become. The real question we need to ask, 2 days into the biggest football tournament ever, is whether the executives running this sport are even watching the same event the rest of us are. I really want to hear your take on all the off-pitch drama, the visa nightmare, the glaring empty stadium seats, playing through a brutal heatwave, the endless corporate ads. What bothers you the absolute most? And can the actual football still deliver enough magic to drown out all that noise? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This channel has kept it real about this tournament since day one. Stick around as all the chaos unfolds. Hit subscribe if you value honest football journalism. We are tracking every single game and every dark story happening off the pitch, all the way through July.